Lovely. So thank you again for joining us for this Q&A about the lovely Nothing on Earth short, How to Land. And it's been an absolute pleasure hosting this and seeing the project to develop from the moment that Ros and Thomas Zoomed us back in, I think it was very early on, back in April, May now, and we had the beginnings of the conversation around this project. And it's so wonderful to see that it has developed in the way that it has. I must say that unfortunately Ros is having a few issues with her video, so she is going to speak to us instead, which I hope everyone's okay with, and hopefully you will have seen her in her video on our social channels over the weekend, but if not, you can go there if you need to imagine her. But the wonderful Rosamund Hutt is the artistic director of Pursued by a Bear. And Ros, I just wondered if you could give us a bit more information about how the project came into being.
Yes, of course. Well, I was delighted when Pursued by a Bear moved to Trestle Art Space in 2017 to become resident with you, because we knew, of course, that Anna Reynolds, wonderful writer, was St Albans based. And Anna, Thomas, the chair of Pursued by a Bear, and myself had worked together in another incarnation many years ago at Theatre Centre when we commissioned Anna to write a beautiful show for schools audiences and theatre audiences called Look at Me. We'd followed her ever since. We wanted to work with her again. And then, of course, here she was in St Albans. And we said to her, what would you like to write? We'd like you, we'd love all your ideas. She came up with several, but there was one that just grabbed me, and we haven't looked back since then. It was inspired by the project Hertfordshire Hidden Heroines. And I'm sure Anna will talk a little bit more about that. But basically, she said to me, I want all these amazing women, pioneers, rule breakers, groundbreaking women, to come together in a play and to collide with a contemporary young woman. I'm 20. Well, in fact, it was going to be 2018 and then it became 2019, and time has gone on because, of course, it takes a long time for a play to come to fruition. But we commissioned her, we did research and development on the first draft and the second draft, and really was so excited by this piece. We literally pressed our send into the inbox of the Arts Council in March for a county-wide tour of Hertfordshire this autumn, and then of course the pandemic hit. So we then reinvented ourselves on a sixpence. We'd been lucky enough at Pursued by a Bear always to have a history of making theatre on film, digital theatre, transmedia storytelling, hosted and inspired by Grant Watson, who will talk about his work in a minute. And so we put all our resources together, put in another application, and we were lucky enough to get funding from the Arts Council of England. Another key player in this was the University of Hertfordshire, who actually gave us the idea, one of our partners, who said, we'd love to commission you to create digital content. And so then we said to Anna, write what you want. And there were many other heroines in Hertfordshire that she was inspired by. And this took us on a brand new journey. So the Nothing on Earth project has kind of developed and blossomed with new heroines coming into the picture, of which we've already now seen 3 in Learning to Fly, How to Build a Plane, and How to Land. So here we are, 3, nearly 4 years later, with Nothing on Earth having yet another exciting incarnation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ros. It really is a testament to the resilience of all the work that you're doing, that we've been sharing these amazing films, and how quickly you've turned that around. So it's absolutely inspiring, I have to say. Anna, how was that? So Anna Reynolds, you wrote all of the Nothing on Earth shorts and also the original play. How was it going in that process from having a play to then creating theatre on film. You know, what is that, and how did you kind of unpick that yourself?
Well, so I think it was brilliant in a way, because there were loads of Hertfordshire hidden heroines that I couldn't fit into the play. I mean, I literally would have liked to have squished all 100 or whatever that we found in. But there were quite a few that I just really, really wanted to write about and didn't know what I could do with those heroines. And when the commission came to write short, well, films or you know, theatre on film, I didn't really think about it in terms of, is this theatre or is this film? I just thought, I just really want to write some cracking monologues and find out more about these women that I was so fascinated by, and particularly the World War II Hatfield aviators, the Atta girls, had always just fascinated me, and they were kind of like what everything was sort of centered around, really, in a way. Yeah, it was just about finding out more about those women, because they were so brave and they were so exciting and they were so glamorous, but they were also just so down to earth and pragmatic about their amazing adventures. And I just thought it was just heaven to be able to just, you know, get inside their heads a bit.
And what would you say? So we've had 3 films,
yeah,
and I believe there's going to be 6 in total.
Yeah.
What would you say links the shorts? What have you found as your kind of connecting thread?
Well, I thought it was quite simple in a way to start with, because for me it was about women who went up. Literally, it was women who went into the air, women who went into the skies, the universe, women who enabled planes to be built to go up. So it was all that stuff. But actually, it's bigger than that. I think it's women who took risks. It's women who defied conventional ideas of what womanhood was in the past and in the present. And I just think it's women who were brave and just pioneering, really. So there's like a really big link, if you like, but there's also a very specific one which is about going up.
Amazing. And I think it's, you know, it's great to see how that's developed across the generations as well. I'm really interested, as I've said to you before, about how you're kind of connecting these characters, reaching out to each other from history almost as well. Jade is the first kind of contemporary character that we've met.
Yeah.
What were the differences in writing her experience that was so specific to literally the moment we're living in right now?
So I think in a way it was far harder to write Jade, because there wasn't any, if you like, kind of solid historical kind of research base to start with. So obviously if you're writing about the Atta girls, or, you know, the first woman in space or whatever, you've got something that you're, even though they're composite characters, I wasn't, you know, specifically focusing on a specific aviator. It was a composite of those women, but there was research there to start with. And Jade, it was almost like literally hearing airline stewardesses, former cabin crew, talking on the radio about how they were going to have to make a major life change. And I was so struck by their positivity and their kind of desperation and their just I don't know, just they just were so, again, they were kind of really inspiring. And I just thought, this is going to be interesting. So actually I love the clash of kind of historical and contemporary.
Me too. I think
I loved writing it.
Yeah, you did. It works.
Good.
I think that's a good time to go over to Suzanne Ahmet, who played Jade. How did you find finding her? Almost, you know, it's been a strange time for actors, and I'm sure for yourself and for us in the industry at the moment. And Jade's going through that herself in terms of how do I identify with myself now in this moment of COVID? How did that resonate with you, and what did you enjoy about playing her?
Well, I love everything about her. I think Anna's just written the most beautifully 3-dimensional woman, and it's just so sensitively done. She's just got all these different shades of colour about her, and it all glitters through Anna's writing. I read it once and went, oh my God, I love this girl. I love what Anna said, her positivity. I love that. I love that we decided that she'd lost her job on the Friday and she was in the care home on the Monday. And that is, that's such a whole ball of emotion to hold on to, which I think is absolutely right. Because when you have a knock like that, a lot of human beings, the human spirit wants to pick itself up straight away and be useful. It doesn't want to drop. And I saw a lot of my colleagues, all of you in the industry, do exactly the same thing. The moment lockdown happened, there was just this flurry of creative people going, what skills do people want? I've got this, I've got that, it's for a fiver, for nothing, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? And then seeing like a whole other industry, like the cabin crew industry, do exactly that and do something really remarkable. They put themselves in the most like incredibly intimate place, into a care home, and they were taking care of people's every single need. So yeah, I love that about her resilience, her positivity, that she's grieving but she's also helping in the same moment, and her ability to be changed by someone like June that she's only known for 2 weeks. I find that really life affirming, that she not only listens and empathizes with this woman, she allows herself to be changed by her and challenged by her. So yeah, I think Anna's written someone absolutely remarkable. I love her.
Wonderful. It's really interesting hearing you talk about resilience, because I'm fairly certain that's absolutely exactly what you had to do, because this is the first time that you've created a film in this way, I'm assuming. Yeah. Can you tell us, well, I won't go into it, but you tell us exactly how this process came about in terms of the filming, because I'm fascinated.
You mean how we did it? Is that what you mean?
I mean, how did you produce this what looks like a fully produced film in lockdown? You know, how did this happen?
You're looking at all the people that made it happen: Roz, Grant, Anna, Helen, Katie, everyone. It was just a massive team effort. I genuinely believe that. I think absolutely theatre artists have been put into this position of still desperately wanting to share stories, but there's a knowledge of the stage is a very different kind of medium to tell a story, especially because you have a live audience, and often they can be right up there and right there. So that's a skill in itself. And then translating a piece that really could be put on the stage to a camera lens is quite a remarkable shift. And I love that Roz has coined it theatre on film, because it's made it its own special thing. It's this amalgamation of the two worlds, and we use the camera lens a lot. We talked about intimacy a lot, but not losing the theatricality of these people, and their movement and their groundedness, all the things you talk about on stage. And we literally rehearse a scene with Anna and Roz in the morning and go into it the way you would any rehearsal process, and then I'd pick Roz up and take her to somewhere in the house and sorry Roz, I'm talking about you like
so this was on Zoom, on Zoom.
Zoom. I'd pick her up on my laptop and put her on a couple of boxes and go, what do you think? This is my living room, what do you think? And she'd go, oh yeah, like that. And we'd have a play, and we'd make a set, and Roz would say what she liked and what we needed, and you'd film me as well, Roz, in a rehearsal situation. And then we'd set what we wanted, and we'd rehearsed it, we'd done the tech run, and then Roz would leave me for a couple of hours while I ran around like a crazy person and tried to get the lights and the sound right. And then I'd send Roz a few takes and she'd choose one, and then Grant wove his magic into sound and lighting.
Thank you. It's absolutely wonderful to hear like how that process worked, and of course an absolute collaboration. But I think it's really interesting. I'm really fascinated as well, Roz, about the theatre on film terminology, because it really, to me, theatre is about that connection with the audience, and I really feel like you've managed to achieve that in these films, that you feel like these characters are really talking to you, which is not something we always see in film. How did you find that process yourself, Roz, of directing Sue, and kind of the differences and the challenges for you?
I think two challenges. One was to make sure that it didn't become mechanical, because I think we could have gone into, oh, you've got to sit here, you've got to look there, the light, the sound, can we hear you? And actually just what Sue has said, we very much worked on the relationship, the characters, the feelings, the themes, that all came first. And then we had the fun. It was glorious fun, actually, of actually then choreographing it, if you like, and I learned a lot. Before this, the only thing I've ever done before this was in April, I directed Top Girls via Zoom for East 15 Acting School, and I was just thrown into it, but I had a lot of help from their very expert movement director and voice specialist. And I always remember one of them saying to the actors at one point, you can be felt through the screen. Don't think that this is a sort of mechanical thing and everything, even if the internet goes weird, you can be felt. And I thought that was one of the most brilliant notes. And I was very grateful for that. And I think that was the thing, to know that, to have that very close relationship was about really talking to the audience, which of course, when we practiced it on Zoom, I was the audience, or even really the camera lens was the audience on the iPad, because it just for our audience tonight, on each film, the actor, Suzanne for How to Land, has filmed it all on an iPad, sort of often piled with books piled up, and the iPad is there. So there's no one else in the house or the flat. There's nobody else. So we all had to learn very fast. And then the second thing I think was that we knew in the time that we had, we weren't all suddenly going to become film directors. I mean, I've been directing theatre for 30 years and I've never directed anything. I've never even been into a television studio. So it was about using our skills, what we understood, what we know, the organic nature of theatre, a relationship between the performer and the audience, and allowing that to speak through the screen and to be felt by the viewer.
And I think you really do feel that. I promise I hadn't told Roz I was going to say that. So clear, it does come through, to us as an audience. It's wonderful. So Grant, you have of course written, directed, and edited films before. So what did you, obviously clearly huge technical experience you brought to the project there. How did it feel kind of working in a new way with other people having written things and then editing someone else's shots that they'd done on the iPad? And what were the challenges for you, and kind of how did you overcome that?
I think what Roz is saying about this being kind of like theatre on film rather than specifically film or television is really true, because you get it's a very different kind of a medium that these guys have been working on, and I think there is a kind of removal from what I normally do, which is when you're on a set and you've got lots of people running around and doing things, and there's a kind of removal from the drama that you're kind of creating in front of the camera, whereas this is much more direct and about the performance and about the writing and about that sort of it was interesting, Roz just saying about the movement director saying that these performances could be felt through the lens, and I think that's really true with something like this, because it's about that intimacy and that relationship and that engagement that the actor gets with the audience by just sort of looking into the camera and telling us a very direct story. And also Anna's writing is so lovely and evocative, and the characters feels very, very warm and very real. So that helps a great deal for me. So really, for me, it wasn't, I kind of got the footage and I kind of I just knitted it together into a kind of structure, and sort of we messed around with timings and things like that. And technology is so advanced now. It's so amazing that you can really create a fantastic movie or film on your phone or on your iPad, and the quality is so exceptional that you can, it's as good as anything else. So really, technology wise, I don't know, we're kind of messing around in a new era really of what's possible. So I think you know, these guys are pushing the envelope of that, which is excellent.
Absolutely. And if there are other people who watch this who kind of are looking to push that envelope as well, would you have any advice for them about anything you've learned from having to advise these guys on how to work with this medium, this new form?
I think that it's kind of, I think it's the same with anything really, is that you just have to go out and do it. And what's brilliant now is that kind of filmmaking, digital art, it is really democratized, because everyone's got it. You know, most people have got phones, they've got this kind of technology. And really the only thing that's stopping you from creating a wonderful story is just your imagination. You know, you just have to go for it. Pick up your phone, film yourself, film your pals, write something. You know, as long as there's something you believe in, a story that you believe in, as I'm sure most creators will tell you, that's really what's important. And then you have to go out there and just do it. And then you can distribute it yourself. You can put it on YouTube. You can gather an audience for it. You can create a community around it. I mean, what's interesting about the work that Pursued by a Bear has been doing, and looking at transmedia and things like that, is that traditional audiences are really a kind of, we think about them in a slightly different way, as opposed to having an audience. Now you've got a community, and your community is kind of often has quite a dynamic impact on your art, so that process becomes something that kind of moves through other people as well. It's not just you creating the art, it's a conversation between you and your audience, and that can evolve the art as well. So yeah, pick up your phone, start filming.
Wonderful provocation there, I think, for everyone. The word evocative has come up quite a lot, and I'm just wondering, Helen, how your wonderful music, so you developed the music for this, and I know it's interesting what Grant was saying about community, because I know that you've been working with members of the community previously as you developed the music for the original play. So I'm just wondering, how did you, your process is very led by the way that you're feeling and inspired by the work as well. I wonder how you did that with the shorts and getting Anna's script and not being in a room together. How did you get that? How did you come to make this wonderful music to accompany these films?
So the community aspect that you're speaking about, that is something that we're about to go into, because we worked with, I might ask Roz in a moment to speak more about that, because we worked with a community of women who actually performed in one of the showings. And so the idea is that we will work with words that they will create through interview or through discussions. And we've already got some words that they shared in their pre-show showing, and that's something which I love to do, which is to work with testimony to create music. Quite a lot of my work's been that. And then the rest of the piece, so we've got a 6-play series, and we've got the 3 out. So the rest of the music has been reading Anna's script, and then actually it's more than that. It's really having the echoes of Nothing on Earth with me, and even trying to bring some of those echoes into the music that I'm writing. So we haven't got there yet, but the one I'm about to record next week has got references to some of the songs which are in the live show. And it's really the words, and it's also this idea of empowerment. So something that came out of the community work was what I found myself calling empowerment songs, where we had these little chants that went, you can, you can, you can, or you can do it, and things like that. And I just thought, oh, that's a whole like genre of songs that I want to be making, which are empowerment songs. So the one that's going to be next week's, as it were, actually I think it's 5, isn't it? Number 5 is going to be that. And then the progression through the music. The first time I was working on my iPhone with my headphones, recording downstairs with the piano, because normally I work in a recording studio, and of course that's not possible at the moment. And then with help from friends and whatever, managed to work on GarageBand. And so I was sort of recording on the phone, and then listening to the recording whilst I was recording on the laptop with a piano, and then separately recording the vocals. So it's very much been a technical learning, and I'm totally at the beginning of it. So technically there's all sorts of things that I know could be better in the actual recordings, but it's been lovely to have to do that. And also I've had to go back to the piano. I once could play the piano, and over years not living enough times with the piano, so I've had to write very simple piano parts to accompany the things. And what I've wanted to do is try and make things that like earworms, where the tune and it's very, very much a collaboration with Anna, even though we haven't seen each other, these wonderful words, and always obviously in dialogue with Roz. And then the progression has been also in relation to the characters, so each one's different. And the first three have been piano and voice. And then the fourth one, it's the fourth one that you're doing, isn't it, Grant? Or is it the fifth? Yeah, you're on the fourth. So the fourth one is going to be sung by the actress, by Chanel. So that'll be a different feeling. She's a wonderful singer who was in the first showing. So she'll be doing that live. And then the fifth one is going to be, I've written a 3-part song which references these earlier tunes from the show itself. And so I'm wondering, I'm either going to double track them myself at home, but I'm also thinking it might be great to have other women's voices on it. So I'm just thinking about asking a couple of mates and sending them the tracks, and then they'll do their own home recordings, as it were. And then the sixth one we haven't made yet because we don't have the lyrics, and I don't quite know what the form for that will be, but I'm guessing that it will need to have many voices on it.
Fascinating. And it's wonderful actually to hear how all of this has caused a moment of doing something as simple as returning back to the piano and developing. We're all talking about developing new skills here, and it's wonderful to hear even all of yourselves as hugely experienced artists trying these new things. It's really exciting. Grant, Helen kind of teased about that you will be directing the 5th film. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on at the moment, and what we come to expect of the next films in the series?
Yes, the next film is rather different from the films that you've seen before. I'm sure Anna will just be able to help with the script. Has a different kind of style. It's a rather dreamy, dreamlike script. I guess Anna maybe would be better to describe what the story is and what the thinking behind the script is, and then I could probably tell you more about how we're doing it.
I don't want to say too much about it, because I'd like people
No
to
spoilers,
watch it.
please. No spoilers.
Yeah, watch it when it comes out, because it's only they're all really short. You can watch them without feeling guilty that it's not like watching a series of something on Netflix and thinking the day's gone. They're short. So this one that Grant's directing is much more kind of abstract, but I think still completely. You're not plunged into some extremely weird world, but it's maybe more metaphorical in some ways, more symbolic. I don't know. Dreamy is a good word, and it's about the ultimate going up. That's all I'm going to say about that, really. Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
And it's our most glamorous location. Yeah, I think it's fair to say, isn't it?
Very glamorous indeed.
Yeah.
So it looks very different because it's can I spoil it? It's shot
I think you can say.
It's shot in Trinidad, and so the landscape is extraordinarily beautiful, and actually it's been shot in a different way. So this time we've shot it with some lighting, and we've shot it on film cameras, and it's got a slightly different vibe that goes along with a kind of the kind of style, the slightly more stylized nature of the script. But yeah, I should stop there, shouldn't I?
Yeah, let's leave them wanting more. That sounds very exciting.
Hanging on.
I can't wait to see it. Thank you for kind of sharing a little tidbit about that with us. I just wanted to kind of finish by asking you all. The character of Jade mentions these transferable skills, and I wondered what just to sum up, what do you feel that this time has allowed us to explore in terms of that? some of the things we've mentioned already, but I just wanted to give the option for anyone to kind of share some more. I'm going to come to you, Sue, first, if that's okay. We haven't heard from you for a while.
Yeah, sorry, I was making sure my squeaky chair wasn't being heard. So many. So like not a tiny one, a massive one that Grant gave to me one day when we were going to film outside. I had a little lapel mic, and he said we were trying to combat the wind, the sound of the wind, and making it shake. And he said, put them. I had like a gift bag that you would put presents in, and Grant told me to like pad it out with material like cloth or something, and then put the mic in that, and put the mic as close to me as possible out of shot, and that would stop that overwhelming wind sound. And that worked. It was brilliant. And that, yeah, so that
that's amazing.
incredible.
I had this conversation a few weeks ago, Sue, when I was working on a piece of film myself with some young people.
Yeah. So things like that could have been a nightmare to try and get the sound right. We got it, and it was a nice strong take. Things like I was saying that the creative community has been so generous in offering skills and being kind and not angry with you if you don't know something. It's more like, no, tell me what you don't know. What is it? So I've turned this room through. This is all through other people showing me how. It can be a bit of a sound studio by putting my 1980 sleeping bag over that side and towels everywhere. And I've got a little light that I put on my little stand with my script. And friends of mine showed me equipment to buy, like a nice microphone. So that I was terrified of that, but people just very kindly sat down and gave me skills, gave me equipment, showed me software. There's YouTube videos everywhere about how to use things. So yeah, I'm from this time, it's been heartbreaking to see what people have gone through, but heart-filling because people have been so generous and so kind and understanding. So yeah, I mean, microphones, soundproofing things, that taking that away.
Cool. Anyone, Ros, coming back to you, is there anything that you would say you've noticed about a need to adapt in this environment right now?
Yes, I mean, for me, 100%, I've learnt more than I can possibly even begin to tell you. I sort of think of myself as a little cottage industry, and it has been absolutely remarkable. And I agree with everybody's points about that. You know, it's the team. It's still the team. You might be sitting in a lovely theatre with your team all around you, and you could be sitting like I did in my mother's spare room in South Wales with my team around me. They weren't literally there, but they were there helping me on every step of the way. But I also think about what University of Hertfordshire, the first film was on their Festival of Ideas Reimagined, and one of their aims was to celebrate how arts and creativity could sustain us in moments of crisis. And I actually think that with all the support of our partners and with our funders, these films have done so much to help sustain us, literally as individuals in this moment of crisis. And it's a sort of lovely thing for me to think as what I call, you know, being in the third act maybe of my life, that I can be doing something completely new that, you know, 5 months ago I'd never even heard of Zoom. And I apologize everybody, it's not working tonight, but you know, how amazing that we've been able to learn so much. The field has not just lain fallow, it's been very fertile.
Yeah, and this project is actually part of the Hertfordshire Year of Culture, isn't it, Ros? And that's been a connection for your partners as well. Do you want to kind of speak a bit more about how you've stayed connected with them in this time as well?
Yes, just very briefly, we've got 6 partners, and University of Hertfordshire I've already mentioned, Dacorum Borough Council, yourselves, Hertford Theatre, I just got to get the new name right, South Meals Arts, Bishop Stortford, and Watford Pump House, the Pump House in Watford. And they've all worked with us tirelessly with such imagination and generosity during this project. And just another quick example, the second film, How to Build a Plane, which featured Nia Davis. Hertford Theatre had this very imaginative idea that it was presented as a short before their main feature when they opened their socially distanced cinema. So Nia Davis, Katie and I went to this, the only outing either of us have actually done anywhere to a theatre. Katie and I went, and there was wonderful Nia Davis sandwiched in between Tom Hanks and Harrison Ford doing wild trailers, and then the beautiful film Radioactive, about Marie Curie, which also was a very clever programming choice on their part, because they said, let's have an evening of women pioneers. And so we've got Betty from Wrexham building a plane, and then we've got Marie Curie. All the other partners have collaborated in equally exciting ways, and there's more to come. And it, yes, indeed, all comes under the umbrella of the Hertfordshire Year of Culture 2020.
Wonderful, thank you. And with that, just as a last parting thought, what is yet to come in terms of, if you could just say one thing, each of you, to excite us to come and keep on keeping up with these films and to watch the next 3, what would it be? Anna, what would be your top exciting teaser?
So I would say watch all of the films, because apart from the fact that they've all got gorgeous performances, look for the little links and the little hidden kind of symbols and lines and things that pop up that are common to some of them.
Lovely. Helen, what's your most exciting thing that you think you want to share?
For me, I find it so inspiring to hear about these women and to follow their stories, and you know, in a time of such invisibility for women in many artistic fields, it's just so wonderful to hear about these extraordinary women.
Absolutely, absolutely. Grant, what would you say?
I think the thing that I really love about these shorts is that really intimate engagement that you get with the performer directly through that lens, and I really love that. And I know that all of the films will have that kind of sense to them, and I think that's the thing that I love the most about it. So keep watching, because you get to really sort of see these characters, and you get to really feel them through the lens, as the chap said. So yeah, it's great.
And Sue, what's gonna get you watching the next one?
Well, I echo what Helen said. Just the stories, they're extraordinary, and each one so far will have you researching, oh, well, who was that, and did that really happen, is that true? And you come across all of these amazing podcasts and stories and bits of footage, so it's exhilarating. So definitely that. And also, I'm going to make Helen blush, but watch because of Helen's voice. It's just magnificent. It's so full of story and meaning and history. So yeah, and you've done the earworm thing, Helen. I'm singing your songs all the time in a loving way. I love them. So yeah, Helen's singing.
Thank you. And last but not least, Roz, what would you say to everyone?
Well, one thing just to I'd like to say is that all that sort of history and our discoveries, which are very in the moment and very real, including discoveries we're having about life and work and art, etc., are also all in the blog. And we've got 3 chapters, and there's going to be 3 more. And I know that people who've had the opportunity to read it enjoy it greatly. And I think so. there's 3 more chapters of a book, if you like, or a story, where you get a 3-dimensional look. Actually, not just, I have to say, at the women who are being featured, but also at all the team who are making it and the realizations we've had as we've gone along this journey.
Brilliant. And can we find that on your website, Ros?
Yes, it's on our website, and it's Nothing on Earth blog. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me this evening, everyone, and thank you for making such an amazing film. I can't wait to see the next 3 and to see where we go from there as well. And thank you once again. I would give you a clap, but it feels slightly odd, doesn't it? So I'm just going to say a huge thanks, and thank you to those for coming and listening. And I hope that you found it interesting and informative. And I'm sure there will be many more opportunities to engage with this wonderful company. So do keep in touch. Thanks.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Emily. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.